It was duly noted that the meeting would be held tonight. We'll start off with the roll call.
Acting Mayor Diane Wolf, excused. Tom Smith, excused. Kevin Schubert.
Here.
Jan Brock.
Present.
Jenny Akins, excused. Knut Tempty.
Present.
Craig Breitsprecher.
Present.
Stephen Knott.
Present.
Approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Skip, seconded by Kevin to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. Item number 3 on the agenda is public input. We'll limit that to 3 minutes per person. I would ask that those who want to address item number 6 related to the proposed zoning for County PH hold their comments till that item comes up on the agenda. You will still be afforded your 3 minutes for comments at that time. With that being said, we'll open the floor to public input. Anybody who has input, if you could clearly state your name and address into the microphone, and please sign the guest sheet before you leave. Second call, anyone wishing to give public input. Third and final call, anyone wishing to give public input. Okay, moving on. Review and consideration of invoice number 018-021-18 from Hoisington. Okay. Sorry, my agenda was wrong. Item number 4 is actually review and consideration of the easement agreement for 1785 East Main Street, Onalaska, Wisconsin, 54650. Staff, you have comments on this?
The property was approved for a conditional use permit on November 22nd, 2005 by the Plan Commission to install a telecommunication facility at 1735 East Main Street, Onalaska. Common Council then gave it final approval on December 13th, 2005. Attached are the documents related to the conditions of the conditional use permit and conditions related to the site plan permit. Further background information of this property can be found in the attached letter. Acme Commercial Properties, LLC will be providing a proposed easement agreement for consideration at today's Plan Commission meeting. Acme Commercial Properties, LLC would like to work with the city to clarify and acknowledge the access to the communication tower by entering into a formal easement agreement with the city of Onalaska.
What is the recommendation from the commission?
I'll make a motion that we approve this request for the conditional permit, that they work with the city to clarify this easement problem.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Amanda?
We did speak with Acme, and in reviewing this, one of the things that came up is that one of the conditions of their site plan permit from when the tower was built is that the owner will maintain the road to the tower, and that has not happened. And so staff would be looking at having the current owner do a site plan amendment to remove that condition as part of this process.
Katie?
And that would go through the January Plan Commission meeting. So this is, if you approve this tonight, then it would be directing staff to continue to work with them and amend it, and you'd see it at the following Plan Commission meeting in January.
In other words, staff would handle any adjustments that need to be made, and then we'd have a final look at it later on.
You have a final look at the site plan amendment. The
Yep.
actual easement would leave here and go strictly to council in January for final approval.
Okay.
Or alternatively, you could refer it to next month and then look at them together.
Recommendation from staff?
We do have a representative from Acme here tonight, if you'd like to make a question to the Plan Commission.
I'm Laddie Galloway with Acme from Abilene, Texas, and
Name and address if you could, sir.
P.O. Box 6405, Abilene, Texas, 79608.
Okay.
Appreciate y'all working with us and considering our request to make this a formal easement. 'Cause right now, the property is landlocked. And anyway, we're just trying to clear things up and square it up and make it right. And thank you for considering this. I didn't know if y'all could look at it this evening, or I'd hate to have to come back.
We can certainly understand that. We have a motion to approve the easement and a second. What's the discussion here?
I don't see how one impacts the other. I don't know, personally don't understand why we couldn't vote on the easement tonight.
I think my motion leaves it up to the city to work out the details, that we approve this and have them do the work.
Eric?
If I were to make a recommendation, I would suggest approving the easement agreement today, which, as Amanda says, direct staff to take the next step that way regarding the site plan, the amendments, which would come back to this council commission next month for final approval. But it's telling us which direction we'd like to go.
Skip, you had the original motion, did you not?
Yes.
And Steve, did you have the second?
Yes.
Okay. We've got a motion by Skip, a second by Steve to approve the easement, and I think that goes hand in hand with the understanding that staff would continue to work out other details.
Yes, that's what the motion was.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Granted.
Thank you very much.
Item number 5. Thank you, Kevin. Review and consideration of invoice number 018-021-18 from Hoisington Kegler Group Incorporated for UDC zoning rewrite project.
This is the final invoice for the project totaling out at $108,000. We will not pay this invoice until the project is done in full. So this is approving it, and then once the project is done, it'll go to council for final payment.
Okay. Eric?
Often it gets confusing, but the payment requested amount is included in the bill-to-date amount. It's not above the bill-to-date. It's included in that total amount.
Included in that.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion.
Well, nobody else will. I'll make a motion that we approve this for payment.
I'll second again.
Motion by Skip, seconded by Steve to approve the invoice from Hoisington Kegler Group. All in favor signify.
I'd like to make a comment first.
Skip.
This is above the original contract amount, and I think that the notes from the subcommittee thoroughly explain everything, so that we don't need any more on that.
Jan.
My question was kind of the same. If this is an overrun, had we planned for this? And secondly, there was something in the subcommittee minutes saying that the city would hold the last payment. If it's or any last payment, not just if it's over and above the amount that was approved originally.
So the original budget amount was $90,000, and they
You didn't listen to me.
contract amendment to go above and beyond. So they are actually within the bounds of their contract, and it's standard practice for us to hold the final payment until the project is complete.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approved. Item number 6, discussion and consideration of the proposed zoning for County Road PH properties. Just for the record, there have been several comments submitted in writing that will become part of the minutes. I'd like to start this off. Katie?
Thank you. As part of the comprehensive review of the City of Onalaska's zoning map as part of the zoning rewrite project, City staff is proposing that the 12 parcels identified on the included map along County Road PH be rezoned from single-family residential to mixed-use neighborhood to be in conformance with the future land use map found within the 2015 comprehensive plan. The city is required to have the zoning match how properties are used, which is what city staff is proposing this evening. This recommendation is based upon the current development in this neighborhood, including comments from residents in the area regarding the ability to walk to commercial areas, the mixture of commercial and residential uses, and recent development that are found in this neighborhood today. For example, right now we have Olive Juice Quilts, River of Life Assembly of God, the Braunston Development, another church, in addition to being located directly next to big box retail and commercial strip developments. The purpose of the mixed-use neighborhood district is to provide areas for redevelopment and development of land based on specific design principles of traditional neighborhood. Inherently, a mixed-use neighborhood means there is supposed to be a mix of residential and commercial. It is not the goal of a mixed-use neighborhood to eradicate or to remove residential, because at that point, it would no longer be mixed use. At that point, it would be a commercial district, which we're not proposing. Our intent is to make sure that it stays a residential neighborhood with the ability of some commercial to be mixed in with certain design criteria related to architecture, height, screening, landscaping, setbacks that you don't find in other traditional commercial districts. Much like what was found in the old transitional commercial, for those extra design standards, those have now been included in this district in addition to a lot more standards that weren't there before. Neighbors are concerned about this proposed rezonings. There's a lot of people here this evening that would like to talk to you, and because of that, we want to have the Plan Commission make a recommendation to the Common Council as to what you believe is the best use for these 12 properties. If the intent is that it should stay single-family residential, we can work with that, and we would have to change our future land use map, which is a possibility. Again, the intent is to make sure the zone matches what the use is today. It is residential today, but it is also very much mixed and adjacent to commercial, which is how it falls into being a mixed-use neighborhood with the emphasis on neighborhoods over a commercial development. City staff is requesting that the Plan Commission make that determination this evening, and then Common Council would consider it later at their January meeting.
Thank you, Katie. At this time, we'll open this back up for public comment as promised. Any of you who wish to make comment on this, please state your name and address, and please sign the sheet before you sit down, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Larry Poya at 626 Gilster Street. I am here this evening to ask you to recommend that the area along PH stays zone R1. This rezoning of MUN would not just affect the people along PH, but also everyone who lives in this addition. I and many of my neighbors who have lived here 40 to 50 years have seen the growth in this area, which is good, but with the growth comes more traffic, which the streets in this area are not designed for. At certain times of the day, there is gridlock at the intersection of PH and 157. Since this is the main entrance to this area, if an emergency vehicle had to get through during this time, precious minutes could be lost, which could cost a life. Under the heading, Purpose and Intent of the UDC that you are working on, Item 2 states to protect the character and the stability of the residential, business, manufacturing, and other districts within the city, and to promote the orderly and beneficial development thereof. Item 7 under this heading states, to stabilize and protect the existing and potential property values and encourage the most appropriate use of land throughout the city. You already have a valuable middle-class residential area that most cities would be proud of, and the land is being used wisely for residential use. Why mess with it? I guess the question is, do you want buildings that may become empty in the future, as we now have, or do you want a continued valued residential area that would continue to benefit the city of Onalaska? Thank you.
Thank you. Would you please sign the sheet, sir?
Hello, my name is Marcia Horvath, and I live at 1205 County Road, PH. I'm here to discuss the proposed rezoning at the south end of County Road, PH. Hoisington Kegler Group that is suggesting this zoning change is in Minneapolis. They aren't all that familiar with this town or this neighborhood. They are saying our neighborhood is no longer valid as R1, but I disagree. This area is currently well established and filled with affordable single-family homes, something the city needs. There are already nearby spaces that could be developed that don't have to encroach on our neighborhood. Shopko, Payless Shoes, Carlos O'Kelly's, Bamboo House, TGI Fridays, Hot Springs Hot Tubs, the space next to U.S. Cellular in Crossroads Center, and 2 spaces in the Bronston Complex expansion all stand empty, not to mention the empty spaces in Valley View Mall and the soon-to-be vacated Gap Outlet store. The residents of this neighborhood can already walk or bike to nearby stores and restaurants. We don't need more. We need to protect this neighborhood from further random business encroachment. This is currently a very desirable residential neighborhood. Tax valuations and selling prices of homes have gone way up here, especially in the last year. What's best for the city is for their citizens to have strong neighborhoods like this one. If zoning is changed from R1, the people living here will no longer have any say about what's happening in their neighborhood. No warning of changes to come and no place to voice their concerns about those changes. MUN zoning would put a cloak of uncertainty over the area. That doesn't seem fair to the citizens whose homes have been here for decades. There isn't much difference between MUC, which was first proposed, and MUN, which is now being proposed. Based on the revised principal use table, over 30 types of commercial businesses could still be built at any time, and the surrounding properties wouldn't know they were coming or be able to voice their opinions about it. It says MUN zoning focuses on residential, but R1 zoning does that even more so. We submitted a petition with signatures of 87 people in the neighborhood that overwhelmingly want these 12 houses to remain under single-family residential zoning. We have signatures from people in 100% of the affected homes, as well as many surrounding neighbors. Please do not ignore an entire neighborhood telling you that it's opposed to this rezoning. These are people's homes, not just lot numbers. Please leave the R1 zoning in place for our neighborhood. Would everyone present who wants the south end of County Road PH to remain single-family residential zoning, please stand up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you sign the sheet, please, ma'am?
My name is Mark Shepard. I've lived here for a short
Address,
time,
sir?
but my better half, yes?
Address?
1221 County Road, PH.
Thank you.
I've lived here for 3 years. My better half has lived here for 15 or 17. The price for a house has gone up like 35% since we've been doing this. And now I just get the feeling that, you know, you're looking to get people out of the way, and I really hope that's not what's happening. I love where we live. I've improved the property massively by my works. I don't want to just walk out and leave it alone, okay?
Please sign the sheet, sir. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make public comment?
Good evening. My name is Kim Smith. I live at 436 Mayfair Place. I also represent 3rd District as alderperson. This is in my district. It's also in my neighborhood. I spoke at the last subcommittee meeting. I'm not going to repeat a lot of things the other people have said, but I do want to thank you all for what you've been doing on your zoning rewrite project. And I hope that when the public comment ends that you could just kind of recap what this process has involved, since there's so many residents here, and I think sometimes people have a hard time understanding the process and what's happening, and a lot of them are just kind of coming in at the back end, and they're worried about things that are happening. So I think it'd be nice if you could just kind of do a quick summary of the zoning rewrite project and the map, just to let everybody know. But just please remember that this isn't just about 12 houses, it's about a neighborhood. The neighborhood has come together on this, and this is why I really believe in municipal government. I believe that in this community, people can come together like this and express their strong opinions over the work they're doing, and a community and a committee of well-informed people can hear that, and it can make a difference in the work that you're doing. And as I said, I do appreciate all the work you've done, and also the consultant that we have on board. I know they're working hard and doing a good job, and they want the end product to reflect our community too. So let's let our work say that we do value neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Hi, Brenda Netwall, 431 Mayfair Place. I'd just like to say I grew up on Mayfair, and we just sold our house on 11th Avenue North like 6 months ago. And I have 6 children, and we just moved back to my childhood home. And I just don't want to see extra cars. I mean, if we have more businesses on PH, there's going to be more people coming through. I have a 16-year-old that's just getting her license, and it just adds more traffic in the area. I have 6 kids, so I'm going to have a lot of grandkids in the future. And I mean, and we live on a hill, and I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, the traffic already is more than it used to be when I was a kid. And safety reasons, we have some things that have happened in our neighborhood, people breaking into cars already a couple times this past summer. And if we add more traffic, I'm just worried about the future. But thank you.
Would you sign the sheet, please? Thank you. Any additional public comment?
Good evening. My name is Roger Wagner. I live at 486 Sycamore Street. And my wife and I have been residents for 35 plus years in the same house on Sycamore. And we've obviously seen changes and growth occur. That's been great. But some things that are not great is all the traffic that we've seen on PH and the numerous accidents. PH and 157 is in the top 10 for accidents. Last week, proved it again. Fire truck, ambulance, multiple squad cars, and person getting loaded into the ambulance. And today's drivers, have not gotten better, let's put it that way. To the point of available properties, as a crow would fly within a mile of the proposed zoning change, there is numerous properties that are sitting there idle, whether it's land or buildings that are already up, The Valley View Mall's probably going to get sold probably within the next year or so. And there's already 14 empty stores in the Valley View Mall, 3 of them being large anchors. Now the Gap, if I heard right, is closing. So there's going to be another store. And so it just keeps piling up. And you look around, you go, well, okay, there's zoning changes. And they want to change the neighborhood. Why? The residential is working. The houses are all occupied. They're on the market for probably less than a week and they're sold. People want to live there. And the houses, people are putting money into their houses and fixing them up. The neighborhood looks great. I mean, why do you want to destroy that? Why do you want to change it? What's going to happen if you change the zoning for those 12 houses? Pretty soon people are going to start giving up. Why do I want to keep my house looking good? Somebody's going to come in and offer me a big chunk of money at some point for this place, if they're one of the 12. The rest of the neighborhood's going to sit there and look at that and go, well, look at all the changes. Is it for the better or is it for the worse? If it's for the worse, they're going to start leaving, or they're not going to keep putting money into their houses, and the neighborhood will take a hit. So I plead with you to hear what we're saying. We don't want to see our neighborhood change. The 12 people that own those houses said, we do not want to see our zoning change. I think that would be a key factor right there. So between all the available properties, the heavy traffic that we see, Sunday going to church, for example, a car came out of Leo Bronson's establishment. The young woman didn't even look and came right out in front of me.
3 minutes.
To go to Petco. And, I mean, you just can't keep putting more traffic in that area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any additional public comment?
My name is Chuck Lipford, 1263 County Road, PH. We've lived in our house for 21 years, and we've gone through the amount of changes on the road. The road was straightened out, which helped cars go a little faster. So in order to address that, they put in speed bumps. Now I can tell anybody what road I'm on, and they'll not know where I am. And I say, I live on the speed bump street. And everybody says, oh, and I know where you are now. But the speed bumps haven't reduced traffic. They haven't reduced the speed. When the speed bumps were first put in, I was hauling exhaust systems to the side of the road weekly. And there is a police car that sits on the corner often of West PH and PH to monitor the traffic. And they do a lot of people that don't stop at those lights and pull all the way through. If there is more commercial growth on that end of PH, it is just going to mean more traffic as they try to take that shortcut from Caribou Coffee to Target. I don't know how many more speed bumps you can put in between the speed bumps that are already there, which aren't really doing any good now. There is often where I will have to wait, and I'm about in the middle, I have to wait 7 or 8 cars to get out of my driveway now. And I don't see it getting any better with more commercial traffic going between one end of PH and the other. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ron Rasquay, 479 Sycamore Street. I agree pretty much with all the other comments that were made, and I did have a lot of those in my notes, so I'll skip those, and I'll just go to one area that no one's really hit on too much yet, and that's just on valuations of the existing properties and what they'll be after any of these are converted to commercial. The 12 houses that you're talking about, if you look at those being worth, say, $170,000 or $80,000 right now, That's about $2.3 or $4 million. If those are converted to commercial, and they would be at $700,000 or $800,000 once the commercial development was completed, that'd be about $9.8 million. So you have a valuation gain of about $7.4 million, which is great for the city. But when you take a look at the loss valuation, residential properties directly adjacent to those commercial properties are going to go down in value. No one wants to live next to a liquor store. No one wants to live next to a convenience store. The properties next to those are also going to drop by a significant amount, and so on down the line. It'll be a domino effect. The further you get away, the less your properties will value, but everybody in that subdivision is going to suffer loss of valuation. And what I came up with for we've got roughly 170 properties in Mayfair subdivision, and once you lose the 12, you're down to the 155 or 60 that are left. And I came up with a valuation loss of about just over $3 million. So the net valuation gain for the city is only about $4.4 million. At the current mill rate of 5.63 per thousand, your net gain in taxes is just a little over $24,000 a year. But the remaining residential properties in Mayfair have lost about $3 million, and I'm wondering how do those people make up that $3 million? Does the city reimburse us? Do we have to file a lawsuit to get that money back? And if we were to win a lawsuit to get that money back, the $24,000 you gain a year in taxes would take over 100 years to make up. So, from a financial standpoint, I just don't see where you gain by converting residential to commercial, especially when it's going to result in a devaluation of everybody else's property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment?
Yes, my name is Dick McGarry. I live at 1220 County Road, PH. I've said that here numerous times. A lot of what I am going to say has been stated before, but I think it's worth hearing it again so that we can all get our say in here. Well, I don't know if you realize it, but if you rezone the property homes along the south leg of PH, it not only creates a lot of confusion and issues, but there will be a lot of stress on the people that live in those homes. We've never thought that, well, I shouldn't say never, because this is a reoccurring event. But it does create a stressful situation. And it seemingly is an unnecessary situation. I don't see the value of all the time spent addressing a rezoning when we all know that it really isn't what you ultimately, well, in our minds, it isn't what you ultimately want. But nevertheless, we'll go through with this. Many of the residents in that area have lived in their homes 25, 40 years plus. And the reason, at least in my mind, that they continue to live there is because It is a very good residential area for us to live in. It's not a very showy area. It's very middle income, but it is nonetheless a very vibrant neighborhood. My understanding is that the tax base or rate in this area, in the Mayfair area, this past year or last year went up significantly, and it was the highest rate in Onalaska. Now, to do that, you have to think that
3 minutes.
well, to do that, you have to believe then that the neighborhood is doing something right. It is adding value to the city of Onalaska. And that is the one thing that we really believe in, not just financial, but as a community. And I thank you.
Thank you. Would you sign the sheet, sir?
Hello, I'm Betsy Stannard, and I live at 1224 PH West, and I've been there for 47 years, and backdoor neighbors to this guy for 45. And I am not of the 12 homes, but he is, and I don't want to see any changes with those neighbors I've known so long. First off, this rezoning proposal came to me kind of as a big disappointment. For I only see these 12 homes as a residential corridor. They've been homes there for 47 years in my life and many more years for other people. And I think since PH is physically separated from the city of Onalaska, it's sometimes hard to think of that as Onalaska. Some of my friends, you live in Onalaska? You know, it just doesn't occur to them as they go out there. And I think I'd like to see the energy that the planning committee spends, and I know it's a lot, that it might work in a different direction rather than adding commercial to our residential area to make the residential area in that corridor more visible as Onalaska. So I have some ideas, and I think if you threw a lot of us together, we'd probably come up with even more. But I think as you travel on to PH, there should be some sign there that this is Onalaska. I think that's a great place to put an Onalaska sign, population, whatever. So that'd be one suggestion. The other thing I'd like to see, and some people have put it on website, that they need more lights in the residential areas on that street. So the street lamps that you put down Main Street here are beautiful. Could they be erected down PH? In the summer, put those beautiful flower pots you guys have that are just amazing down that road. And then in the winter, those beautiful snowflakes with orange lights that, oh my God, just rock me. I think they're so beautiful. Would just make that whole thing fit better. And I know it takes a lot of energy to do that, but I'd like to see that. And then I think Mayfair Addition is has historical significance, and I think it should be designated that way. And then where PH and PH West meets is an open grassy area, be a great place for some structure, sculpture. So in ending, I think Onalaska needs these 12 homes on PH, and as an as everyone in those 12 homes has shown, by at least one person signing a petition, they want to stay residential. So I guess I'm asking the planning committee to see PH as a residential corridor. Please hear the 12 people that say they want to stay residential, and then please reject this zoning change, because ultimately you're the only one that can help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve McCombs, and I live a lot deeper into that neighborhood. I live at 558 Court Road, and I just don't think this is a good idea. Even though I live far away from the 12 homes on Highway PH, I think the increase in traffic and congestion at the entry points to that neighborhood would be almost it'd just be a big hassle for everybody who lives there. So I just wanted to state that I don't think it's a good idea. I'm a new arrival to the neighborhood. I've been there only since 2005. So even though it's quite a long time, one of the reasons that we chose to live there was because of the character of the neighborhood. It's quiet. Pretty much everybody knows each other. And I think that changing the zoning and even having the possibility of those homes being removed and that becoming a more commercialized area would just ruin the character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Forsyth. I live at 583 Court Road. It's a little bit off of the PH main intersection that you're dealing with, but my family moved to our house on Winter Street in 1968. We moved back away again in 1980 when the mall was being built. When I lived there as a young man, I could ride my bike without worries of other cars. It was a great place to grow up as a kid. I went in the Air Force for 20 years. I moved back to Wisconsin, back to my old neighborhood. So, don't want to get emotional, but you see things change over the many years that you've been someplace. You go all over the world and you end up coming back home again. Wow, this is all different than when I was there. I think interchanging commercial with residential housing is going to make traffic a lot worse. It's make it maybe more unsafe for children in the area. The growth, there's a lot more other places to put commercial in that neighborhood. Around the outside of that neighborhood, just leave that neighborhood alone. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is John Beach. I live at 2009 Craig Lane East, but I own 1203 County PH. That's where my parents lived until I passed. That's where my son is currently living. And I can't see a reason for making a change. I've been to 3 meetings on this project now, and I haven't heard anybody speak for it. Seems like kind of a no-brainer that you wouldn't want to change the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public input?
Jeff Sharp, 622 Gilster Street. I have a question with, when the road was done on PH years ago, was it, because right now there's no truck access to it, was it built to handle semis? Because once you go commercial in any buildings, you are going to have more truck traffic through there. But in the end means it's going to look like the intersection over by Festival Food or 157, there where the blacktop sinks down, it's gonna cost the city more on road upkeep overall, with the more traffic you put onto that road. Also, the amount of more traffic through there, the less safety's back there. I mean, truthfully, I got broke into my garage at 8:30 in the morning on a Tuesday 2 years ago. Some guy broke in, stole all my stuff in my garage, saws, drills, whatever. And we just don't see, I don't want to see any more of this. Because the more people you get back there, the more from that area, the more they're going to get back into our area, and it's going to be unsafe for everyone. It's just not a good deal. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Debbie Young, and I live at 705 Kruger Court. We have UPS trucks, FedEx trucks going down our street faster than you can believe. We've called Katie, we've talked to Zach about the lighting from this shopping center. So I caution you about asking for more lights in the neighborhood. We could read magazines in our bedroom at night because the upper lights at that end of the mall are so great. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we need any more businesses, or certainly not from out of town that really don't care about the residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dennis Standard, 1224 PH West. In 1972, I moved to PH on Alaska. It's almost 50 years ago. When we moved, we were basically in the country. Things have changed quite a bit. But just the same, we liked where we lived. So we took good care of our property. We remodeled occasionally. We raised our kids. We supported education, and we paid our taxes. In return, we received a fair amount of security and support from the city. We appreciated that. Mr. Rogers once said, one reason this country is great is because of the neighborhoods. And I think all of the neighbors on PH would agree with that. We need your support. We need your vote.
Thank you. Any additional public input?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie McGarry, and I have lived at 1220 County Road PH for 43 years. Tonight I am speaking on behalf of many of our neighbors living in and around PH who are unable to attend tonight's meeting. My husband and I have canvassed our neighborhood, sharing information about the possible rezoning of the South Lake of PH and speaking with as many people as possible. To a person, each was very concerned about the effect on the entire neighborhood. And as you can see by the number of petition signatures we were able to collect in a short period of time, these people are opposed to the rezoning of the South Leg of PH from R1 to MUN. We know you, the Plan Commission, want to do what's best for the city of Onalaska, and that means what's best for its citizens. This includes all of us along PH and throughout the Mayfair area. We are a large neighborhood. Most people driving on PH don't realize that. They just see the speed bumps and the stop signs. They don't realize how much farther back into the neighborhood the homes go. We live in an affordable middle-class neighborhood where people have constantly been making improvement to their homes. We also care about each other and believe in preserving the integrity of our neighborhood. Homes do sell quickly, often over asking price when they come on the market. If the zoning is changed on South PH, what does that do to the lack of affordable middle-income single-family housing in the city of Onalaska? And what message are you sending to other citizens of Onalaska, to other neighborhoods, and to future citizens? The south leg of PH is not a deteriorating street with rundown homes ripe for improvement with mixed-use commercial or mixed-use neighborhood development. In fact, our homes have been improved over the years, and the city has identified us as being a valued area, as seen in the recent assessment and large increase in property values and taxes. If this rezoning is approved, most of us will be hesitant to invest more money in our homes as we live in limbo, not knowing what the future holds. At a meeting with the city staff in October, I was told that PH is a commercial corridor. I said, no, it's not. It's a residential corridor and has been since we moved there in the 70s and years before that. There are a huge number of homes and probably 1,000 people that live out in that neighborhood. If you want to identify a commercial corridor, start at Broad Street by Old Shopko and go east to Target and Walgreens. There is access to both Highway 16 and County Road OS via Broad Street and Theater Road. Most of you know many of us who live on PH because we've been here many, many times before. And
3 minutes.
Okay. Since we were annexed in, and the city has always supported us with R1 from not where Caribou Coffee is, but from then on since 1981, and that's what we were assured we would remain. And if I could just add one thing, because of the rezoning and all the meetings that are going on regarding this rezoning, we as residents need clarification. There were open houses, and we could schedule appointments to meet with people. And then there was a plan commission meeting last month on the 13th. And then there was this subcommittee meeting that we did not get notification of, that we could put input. And now this one, and now this tomorrow night. What's going on tomorrow night? With all of a sudden, there's another meeting tomorrow night, and we don't know how to handle all that. So if you could clarify these things. And give us some notification.
Thank you. Any additional public input? Last call, any additional public input? Okay, we'll close that at this time. Moving on to the discussion and consideration of the proposed zoning for County Road PH properties. We'll open that up to the commission. Staff, any additional comment?
So, as requested by a couple individuals, to give some little more background to the zoning rewrite process and the public participation that we've been doing thus far. So back in 1969, the city's zoning ordinance was originally created. And at that point, absolutely. Apologies. Can you hear me better? Better? Okay. So once the zoning ordinance was adopted, the city had created a number of zoning districts and a number of rules. So rules pertaining to fences, parking, landscaping, setbacks, and created a different number of districts, and each district had their own set of rules. As the years went on, during that time, Onalaska was growing heavily. Our population was increasing at a dramatic rate. There was a lot of greenfield, farm field. So our code was written more towards having greenfield development. In 2009, city staff attempted to, on a piecemeal approach, go through the zoning ordinance and try to update those rules. They did not look at the zoning of properties, they just looked at the different districts and the different rules and tried to update everything the best they could. From 2012 to today, city staff, in consultation with our legal counsel, has continually gone through and updated our code another 20 times, which is telling people that our code needed to be looked at from a holistic approach. We had to look at everything. By the time we got started on this project, our zoning ordinance was over 450 pages long, which is a nightmare for the public to try and understand, which resulted in a lot of questions and confusions, and some of the rules not being equally enforced from one property to another. So that's one of the main reasons why we went through and decided that we wanted to look at every page of our zoning code and make sure that it fit Onalaska today. A lot of the uses that you found in our old zoning code don't exist today. And there's a lot of businesses today that were never even considered back when this code was written in 1970. So that's one of the main reasons why we started this entire process. So we've been working on this zoning code rewrite project for 1.5 years. And we couldn't start looking at what areas of the city should be what district until after we had created all of the new zoning districts. Some of our zoning districts went away because they weren't being used. Some of the zoning districts were changed. Some properties, we had residential properties that were zoned public institutional, and they couldn't get refinancing on their homes. So we found a lot of mistakes and errors and properties that were improperly zoned. So as part of this process, once we created all the new districts and left some alone, we went by property through the entire city, and we wanted to make sure that the uses today match what the new proposed zoning district was. So back in October, the city staff sent out letters to everyone whose property the city proposed to be rezoned from one district to another. That's where we had invited people to come in on a one-on-one basis to sit down with city staff and to talk about those during the day. If appointments were unavailable, we held an open house for those who weren't able to attend at those particular times. We sent out another round of letters after the fact as we continued to catch errors and make sure everything was as tight as we could be for the proposed rezonings. We sent out another slew of letters. So during that time, we originally had proposed this area as mixed-use commercial and mixed-use later, mixed-use neighborhood after talking with residents that came in. There are other neighborhoods, not just County Road PH, but those along Main Street, along County Road OS, that are in a similar situation that have a mixture of commercial and residential, and we had proposed to mixed-use neighborhood. Because of the overwhelming response that we received from your neighborhood, that's why we wanted to give you an opportunity to speak with our Plan Commission to tell them what it is that you'd like. It's our requirement as city staff to make sure that the proposed zoning puts the correct label on what already is in existence. However, the Plan Commission and Council have the final say as to what they want this to be. So we thank you for coming in and telling us, because that's the public process that we need to occur. So that was the night to the purpose of tonight's meeting. There is another meeting tomorrow at the Omni Center where we'll be having a joint Plan Commission and Common Council, and there'll be a presentation by our consultant that's been working on this, and they'll be giving that presentation as an education tool to our Plan Commission and Common Council. You're all welcome to attend. That's at 5:15 at the Omni Center in the banquet room. At that point, it's just a presentation. They're not taking any action at that meeting. Following that meeting is an open house that the consultant is putting on in the same room at the Omni Center, starting at 6.
Nope, starting from 6:30 to 7:30.
From 6:30 to 7:30, where you can look at all the new proposed regulations for the whole code. So, as stated, it's been an ongoing process. It's been a long process, but doing the map is the last part of it, because you can't create new districts and label them until you know what your districts are going to be. So, is that helpful?
So just to clarify, tomorrow night's meeting, the focus is not on the map. The focus is on the first draft of the entire zoning code. And so the open house is going to have, like Katie said, informational boards talking through what the regulations are for things like parking, setbacks, development standards, and the actual language in the new proposed code.
Correct. The emphasis is not on the zoning map herself. So there will be a public hearing in January for the zoning ordinance and also for the zoning map that'll occur for the Plan Commission and then ultimately at the Common Council in February.
The public input portion is closed for tonight and statements, and you're certainly welcome to take that up with staff additionally. So thank you, Katie. And it has been a long process, and there's been a whole lot of things looked at, and it's not just related to pH. We all get rich sitting up here getting paid this much to do this work, and nobody's trying to get anybody or ruin anybody or anything like that. But it's important, and we certainly welcome your input. That's probably the most important thing we get out of this. So we're just regular citizens too, homeowners, that want to try to serve the public interest as best we can. We collect input from our experts and our staff, and having lived here many, many years ourselves, we're trying to provide for the future of the community as best we can. Obviously, their public input affects that greatly. So again, we thank you for that. Commission, is there a recommendation someone would like to make?
I think I'm going to go ahead and propose that we do not rezone that area. Well, I'll wait for discussion to make my comments.
Was that in the form of a motion?
Yes, Paul.
Motion against recommending the zoning change for the PH area. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
So if I could, just to start, my,
Go ahead, Steve.
So first off, I did hear several comments. There's probably about half of the residents who are talking about converting it to commercial. I just want to clarify that is not what the recommendation is. It's not what's happened. It's not what we would want ourselves, because we know that that's a valuable neighborhood there. It was mixed-use neighborhood is specifically what the rezoning would be, and that's quite different than converting it to commercial. However, so as was stated earlier, the zoning rewrite serves a lot of purposes, including clarifying, consolidating previously existing code, and also to update to reflect the actual existing conditions. I think that's where we are with this one right now. Is our perspective is that in that area, it basically already meets what is a mixed-use neighborhood definition, so we were just putting the proper zoning label on it, if you will. Now, which I supported and personally think still is proper. That said, at best, we haven't convinced the citizens in the area of the necessity to do this, and at worst, we're wrong. I think it's the former. I think we haven't been able to express why this is necessary. And that's important, though, too. There's a benefit out of this, that it would reflect the existing conditions and clarify the code. But the cost, if we move forward under the current conditions, having not expressed ourselves and I guess convinced the residents who actually live there of the necessity to do this, that the cost would be a significant loss of confidence in the city plan commission specifically. I just don't think that we should be moving forward with this until we can appropriately express why this needs to be done.
Looking at me?
You have any comments?
I think that looking at this from a long-range planning standpoint, this is the right move. However, from listening to all of the comments, I don't know if we have enough information right now to say, yes, this is the right move. But I have a gut feeling that looking at long range, and I've been in long-range planning for 70 years, that this is the right thing. But again, I have to agree with Steve that I don't think we have enough information right now to move forward on it.
My perspective, if I can offer that, is that, again, I believe that this is the right zoning classification for this area. It fits the descriptions that go along with that. And I think that down the road, I think that may be borne out. But by the same token, I don't see a real compelling reason to recommend the change at this point in time. That doesn't mean it might not be addressed someday. Because I think, again, that area is an area that may get developed. But right now, I don't see, like I said, the compelling need to change that zone.
Yeah, Craig, and again, I agree. I just want to clarify, I also think it's the right move. But that's moot at this point. I don't see how we can move forward if we can't express why and convince the residents of the necessity for this.
And the other thing I'd like to add too is we can't afford to do baskets and lights and decorations in every neighborhood in town. I'm playing with you.
I could work on that.
Yes, you could.
Okay.
Jan, do you have something?
I agree with Steve and Craig. I think down the road, possibly beyond my lifetime, this may come to fruition. It's already started there with some of the smaller businesses that are in the neighborhood. But I'm going to go look at this from a historical perspective. I've been on the Plan Commission a long time. We have done mass rezonings before, such as this. Over on Schroeder Road, which is now where you see a Quick Trip, a Burger King, Tires Plus, various things over there, except for the one gentleman that still lives there. We did a mass rezoning of that whole area at the time. That was because we had a developer who wanted to purchase the entire area and had a specific development in mind. He had some of those. Quick Trip was already going to be in place for the corner lot there. So that was done. We've also done it on, when we just did the changed a zoning district, or I should say deleted a zoning district, the R160 zoning. We just deleted the whole zoning in our zoning code. And that's a testament to these people who've been working extremely hard for an extremely long time on this rezoning. Our zoning code is difficult to understand, even if you know what's going on, and I don't. But anyway, so we have done this in the past, but slowly this neighborhood has had pockets that have rezoned. A property is sold here to Caribou Coffee, to Dr. Bronston, property sold there to the quilt shop. So this has occurred on a slow, methodical basis, on a property-by-property transfer. I agree with many of the residents saying that there are vacant properties in the area that could take development, and I just don't see us doing the whole section at once. I would rather see it, if one property comes in, we deal with it on a property-by-property basis.
One of the things we need to remember, though, too, in all fairness, is a lot of those properties that theoretically everybody says, well, they're empty. Those aren't in Alaska. Those are in La Crosse. And we can only deal with what we've got in front of us here in Alaska. We can't force La Crosse to develop differently. You know, we have no control over that. Any other comments? We have a motion on the floor and a second to recommend against rezoning to a mixed-use neighborhood classification for the PH area. Katie?
With it to retain as R1?
with it to retain as R1. Any additional comments? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion passed. We will not recommend that the zoning change be made.
May I make a comment about it? I would rather have, that we had had a positive vote and voted it down rather than a negative vote and voted it up, and that's why I voted against it.
Noted. Thank you, Skip. Chair would entertain a,
Could we just go over again the meeting tomorrow, the time and stuff? I just wanted to make sure.
Informational.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just informational?
Yeah, so tomorrow night at 5:15 is the joint plan and council meeting, and HKGI will be here to give a presentation at the Omni Center. Yep, they'll do a PowerPoint and they'll kind of go over the first draft of the code with you, and then immediately following that at 6:30 till 7:30 is an open house where the public is invited to come in and learn more about the first draft of the zoning code.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't quite sure.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Whoops. Oh. I won't entertain a motion to adjourn. Item number 7 on our list is consideration and approval of the 2020 Plan Subcommittee and Plan Commission meeting schedule. Do you have that? Yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't get the regular packet.
Motion to approve.
They don't have a copy. They don't have an agenda 7, no.
Katie, the three of us never got them.
Right. All I have is subcommittee. I got the subcommittee.
That's all I've got. That's all I ever got.
That's what I've got.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I didn't have it. I didn't have it up till this morning.
Okay, we got
Oh, you didn't have a copy? Is that what it was?
Never got it.
Oh,
The
okay.
three of us never got a copy.
I ran my copy off the computer, so.
No, in the mail. We never got all we got was the subcommittee.
I never got a copy of the minutes of the agenda, so I ran mine off of the computer.
Excuse me, we're still meeting. If you could, folks, if you could carry your conversation outside, please. Thank you. Okay. Any comments on our meeting schedule for the subcommittee and the Plan Commission meetings themselves?
I have a question.
Skip.
The way I understand it, the subcommittee is the second Tuesday of every month, except November and December. And the Plan Commission is the fourth, except September, November, and then December. Am I correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Jan, you can't set your calendar right now.
No, I was just.
Do we need a motion?
We need a motion to.
I'll make a motion that we approve the.
We accept the
Motion.
city meeting schedule with the Plan Commission meeting schedule as proposed.
I'll second it.
Motion by Steve, second by Skip to accept the meeting schedule for the Plan Sub and Plan Commission as proposed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I make a move that we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Doesn't require a second.
It doesn't.
We are adjourned at 8:15.